Let me make some remarks before I turn to the Deputy Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. In 2007, the Australian people elected me to be their Prime Minister. That is a task that I resume today with humility, with honour, and with an important sense of energy and purpose. In recent years, politics has failed the Australian people. There's just been too much negativity all round. There's been an erosion of trust. Negative, destructive personal politics has done much to bring dishonour to our Parliament, but done nothing to address the urgent challenges facing our nation, our communities, our families. In fact, it's been holding our country back. And all this must stop. And with all my heart, that is the purpose I intend to pursue through the office of Prime Minister. I want to pause to acknowledge the achievements of my predecessor, Julia Gillard. She is a woman of extraordinary intelligence, of great strength and great energy. All of you here in the National Press Gallery and across the nation would recognise those formidable attributes in her. And I know them, having worked with her closely for some years. Also, Julia, as Prime Minister and prior to that as Deputy Prime Minister, has achieved much under the difficult circumstances of a minority government. And in doing so, she has been helped by a group of dedicated ministers and members of Parliament whose contribution I also wish to acknowledge. In Julia's case, let me say this. Were it not for Julia, we would not have a Fair Work Act. If it were not for Julia, we would not have a national scheme which ensures that the literacy and numeracy performance of every Australian school is tested regularly and that interventions occur to lift those students who are doing poorly. She has been a remarkable reformer, and I acknowledge those contributions, again formally this evening. I also wish to recognise the contribution of the Deputy Prime Minister, as he has been, Wayne Swan, with whom I've also worked intimately, in fact over several years, working in the trenches day in, day out, night in, night out, here in Canberra, working together to prevent this country from rolling into the global economic recession and avoiding mass unemployment. So Wayne, whatever our differences have been, I acknowledge your contribution here as part of that team which kept us out of a global catastrophe. The question many of you will understandably be asking is, why am I taking on this challenge? For me, it's pretty basic, it's pretty clear. I simply do not have it in my nature to stand idly by and to allow an Abbott government to come to power in this country by default. I've known Mr. Abbott for 15 years, since I was elected to this place the first time. I recognise his strengths. I also recognise, however, that Mr. Abbott is a man steeped in the power of negative politics, and he's formidable at negative politics. But I see no evidence of a real positive plan for our country's future. I also passionately believe that the Australian people want all of us engaged in our national political life to work together, to come together whenever that is possible. And I see my role as Prime Minister in forging consensus wherever I can, identifying our differences where they do in fact exist, and without reverting to personal vitriol. That just diminishes and demeans us all. We can do better than that. We can all do better than that. You know, Australia is a great country. Having seen a few others around the world in my time, this is a fantastic place. We owe much to those who have come before us, and we owe much to those who will come after us to ensure that what we have inherited is improved upon and not degraded. But you know something? We have a great future, but that future is not guaranteed. As I've said once before, here in Australia we've got to make our own luck. And we can, we're good at it. And if we work at it, we can actually bring our future home securely. In recent times, I've been thinking a lot about the state of the global economy. There are bad things happening out there. The global economy is still experiencing the slowest of recoveries. The China resources boom is over. And China itself domestically shows signs of recovering. And when China represents such a large slice of Australia's own economy, our jobs, and the opportunities for raising our living standards, the time has come for us to adjust to the new challenges. New challenges in productivity, new challenges also in the diversification of our economy, new opportunities for what we do with processed foods and agriculture, in the services sector, and also in manufacturing. I've never changed my script or my belief. I never want to be Prime Minister of a country which doesn't make things anymore. There's a big future for Australian manufacturing under this government. Looking at our global economic circumstances, therefore, we have tough decisions ahead on the future of our economy. This means having a government that looks at growing the size of our economic pie as well as how it's distributed. And let me say this to Australian business. I want to work closely with you. I've worked with you closely in the past, particularly during the GFC, and there are some white-knuckle moments there, as the heads of the major banks will remember. But we came through because we worked together. And I'm saying it loud and clear to businesses large and small across the country, that in partnership we can do great things for the country's future. And for the Australians who depend on the success of your businesses to have a job, to have decent living standards and opportunity. Business is a group that this government will work with very closely. What I want to see here in Canberra is for business and Labor to work together. I don't want to see things which drive business and Labor apart. We've been natural partners in the past, we can be again in the future. I intend to lead a government that brings people together and gets the best out of them. Before I conclude, let me just say a word or two to young Australians. It's clear that many of you, in fact far too many of you, have looked at our political system and the Parliament in recent years and not liked or respected much of what you have seen. In fact, as I rock around the place talking to my own kids, they see it as a huge national turn-off. Well, I understand why you've switched off. It's hardly a surprise. But I want to ask you to please come back and listen afresh. It's really important that we get you engaged in any way we can. We need you, we need your energy, we need your ideas, we need your enthusiasm. And we need you to support us in the great challenges which lie ahead for the country. And with your energy, we can start cooking with gas. The challenges are great, but if we're positive and if we come together as a nation, we can overcome each and every one of them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to the Deputy Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, Deputy Prime Minister Albo, and I'm delighted that the caucus has elected him today, and I congratulate him on his new appointment. Over to you, Albo.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Look, I want to thank Kevin for his support, and I do want to thank the party for the great honour of electing me this evening to be the Deputy Leader of the Federal Parliamentary Labor Party. I think it says a great thing about our nation and the opportunity that it has represented for Australians through the generations, that a son of a single parent who grew up in a council house in inner Sydney can rise to the position of Deputy Prime Minister. What Labor is about is opportunity for all. It is about removing discrimination across the board, whether it be on the basis of race or gender, ethnicity, religion. It is about creating fairness, supporting the economy, but also making sure that the benefits of economic growth are spread. So I have a big job to do. I will do it as I have undertaken every task since I was elected into this House in 1996. I will do it with enthusiasm, passion and commitment, and give my all for the cause of Labor. Not because the election of a Labor government is the end in itself, but because it is only Labor governments, I believe, that can truly serve the long-term interests of the nation. The reason why I wanted to be and was attracted towards the infrastructure portfolio is that I believe one of the great divisions in Australian politics is between Labor that is concerned about the long-term and the short-term opportunism of the opposition. Labor that believes that government can play a positive role in people's lives, and the opposition, the coalition and Mr Abbott, who believe that if government just gets out of the way, everything will sort itself out. Very different approaches. But I believe that, that in terms of working with Kevin, I have no doubt that together with the team, we can do great things for the nation, and I believe we have this evening maximised our chances of going into a third term and beyond of a Labor government, because it is only long-term Labor governments that can get the big reforms done. I want to conclude by saying and acknowledging that this has been really tough days for the Labor Party. Julia and Wayne are not just people that I have worked with on a daily, hourly basis, they are also close friends. And I pay tribute to both of them and their achievements over the entire period of the Labor government, and prior to that, in their efforts in ensuring that we were able to form government in 2007. We won't be found wanting in coming days, weeks and the months ahead up until the federal election. We will be out there advocating the cause of Labor each and every day, mobilising, I think, and looking for a new energy, a resurgence of energy in the Labor cause, because this is a fight worth having to ensure a long-term Labor government as opposed to the destructive negativity that Tony Abbott represents. Thank you.
Just as we go, colleagues, can I just say this? This evening we've been briefed by the Secretary of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet on the immediate challenges which lie ahead. We will begin our briefings as appropriate in the next several days on the budget and the economic outlook and on a range of other international matters which lie before us. We will await the Governor-General on that matter, but what I would say to you is that we have a formidably busy day tomorrow. There's a few things on, but we will certainly speak with you collectively again very soon. In the meantime, we have got to go and do other work. Thank you.